okay. The next morning, it was doing worse than ever. She rushed it to the emergency animal clinic, handed it to the veterinarian, began to describe the symptoms. The doctor stopped her and said, "Where did you get this animal?" She thought she was in trouble for bringing it across the border. And she finally said, "Well, doctor, my friend and I found this little Chihuahua in the gutter in Tijuana." He said, "Young lady, this is not a Chihuahua. This is a Mexican river rat." And I heard about this man that was very stingy with his money. Just before his death, he made his wife promise him that she would have him buried with the $50,000 he had saved. His wife reluctantly agreed. At the funeral, before they closed the casket, she snuck in this small wooden box. Her friend said, "Surely you didn't just bury the money, did you?" The wife said, "Of course I did. I'm a Christian. I can't lie." She said, "You mean you just buried $50,000? Wife said, "Yes, I did. I wrote a check." I want to talk to you today about daily direction. God said in Psalms that He will lead us down the best path for our lives. He has the wisdom we need, the guidance, the direction, but it's not going to happen automatically. Every morning we have to go to Him and say, "God, show me my assignment. Show me what to do. Show me where to go. Give me the words to speak." Asking for wisdom, for guidance, that's an act of surrender. It takes humility to say, "God, you know what's best for me. I can't do this on my own. I need your help. Open the right doors, close the wrong doors, make the path clear." The scripture says, when you acknowledge God in all your ways, He will direct your path. But too often, we make our plans without consulting God. Then we ask Him to bless those plans. And we wonder why it's a struggle, why it feels like it's always uphill. We have it backwards. We're making a move and then asking God for help. The right way is to ask God first. "God, what do you want me to do? Should I date this person? Should I start this new project? Should I make this purchase?" If you feel peace about it, then move forward. If not, hold off, knowing that God knows what's best for you. In the Lord's Prayer, Jesus prayed, "Give us this day our daily bread." He didn't say our weekly bread, our monthly bread. "Joel, I come to church every Sunday." No, every morning you need to go to God for your daily bread, your daily wisdom, daily directions. A few years before my dad went to be with the Lord, Victoria and I came across a construction permit for the last full-power television station here in Houston. I had spent years behind the scenes here at Lakewood doing the television production. I was excited about being able to put this station on the air. We were building it from the ground up. We had to find a place for the tower, buy the programming, hire the staff. While it was exciting, I didn't have any experience in broadcast television. I knew a little bit about production, but this was beyond my expertise. I had to do what I'm asking you to do. I would start off every morning saying, "God, I can't do this in my own strength, my own ability. I need your help. Lord, guide me to the right people. Lead me down the right path. God, keep me from making a mistake." What was I doing? Getting my daily bread, my daily instruction. And at one point, we were about to purchase the most expensive and important piece of equipment for the station. It was going to cost a couple $1,000,000. Now, our engineers had researched it and come up with their recommendation for the make and the model. But a couple of days before we put the purchase order in, a friend of mine that I hadn't spoken to in years called out of the blue. We spoke for about 15 minutes. Just before he hung up, he made a comment about the manufacturer of the piece of equipment we were about to buy. He said in passing how he had heard that that company was struggling, that they might go out of business. He made the statement, "I feel bad for people who own their equipment." He had no idea we were about to place an order with them. When I heard that, chills went up and down my spine. He didn't know it, but God was using him to speak to me. When I hung up, I called our engineers. They researched it and found out what he was saying was true. If he'd have called a couple of days later, it would have been too late. We would have been stuck with something that could have been a big headache, outdated, not supported. And some people think that's a coincidence, but I know that was God directing my steps. When the Israelites were in the desert, headed toward the promised land, God gave them manna to eat each morning. It was something like bread that formed on the ground. The manna would only last for one day. Every morning, they had to go out and get a fresh supply. But I'm sure some people thought, I don't feel like going out tomorrow. I'm going to save some time and energy. I'm going to gather up enough for the whole week. They woke up the next morning, all that manna was spoiled. You couldn't eat it. The principle was they had to go out and get fresh manna every day. The word manna in the original Hebrew is translated, what is it? When we go to God for our fresh manna each day, the right attitude is, God, what is it you want me to do? What is my assignment? Not giving God orders, telling Him what to do, how to do it. Rather, God, show me the best path. Show me how to overcome this problem. Show me how to accomplish my dreams. Are you getting your daily bread? Are you checking in with headquarters to get your assignment each morning, asking God, what is it? Or are you on autopilot, just doing what you've always done? The challenge with that approach is what worked in the past may not work today. Sometimes God will do things a different way. When the Israelites needed water out there in the desert, they were thirsty, God told Moses to strike the rock. He struck it and water flowed out freely. Another time when they needed water, same situation, God told Moses to speak to the rock. The problem was Moses was on autopilot. He didn't listen. He thought, I got this, no problem. I don't need to check in with headquarters. I don't need to get daily direction. I've overcome this problem before. I can do it again. He struck the rock. Same problem, same desert, similar rock, but God had a different plan. God was saying, Moses, just because I had you do it that way last time doesn't mean I want you to do it that way this time. What am I saying? You can't live off of yesterday's manna and expect to have victory today. Yesterday's information may not work today. God is a God of freshness. He likes to do new things. And it's easy to get stuck in a rut thinking, I don't need daily direction. Joel, I've overcome this problem before. I'm going to use the same tactics to overcome it this time. Like with Moses, sometimes the old way doesn't work. You need to get some fresh manna. If not, you'll keep striking the rock when you should be speaking to the rock. It's a small tweak, but you'll only hear it if you're getting your day. David understood this principle. In 2 Samuel 5, he had just been made king over Israel. When the Philistines heard about it, they came down to this valley to attack him. Now, David was a warrior. He had conquered a lot of armies. His nature was to attack. But here's why David was considered a man after God's own heart. Verse 19 says, David inquired of the Lord, shall I go attack the Philistines? Will you hand this enemy over to me? Notice his humility. He didn't say, I got this, been there, done that, no problem. He took time to inquire of the Lord. Before he went to battle, he got quiet and said, God, what do you want me to do? He was getting his daily direction. He didn't assume because something worked in the past, it was going to work right there. He asked a very significant question, God, will you hand this enemy over to me? Seems like that would be a given. He was just put in charge of the Israelites, God's chosen people. Surely God wouldn't let them be defeated. But the fact is, we're not supposed to fight every battle. David was smart enough to ask, am I supposed to attack? He was saying, God, if I go in there, are you going to go with me? He was showing his dependency on God. He recognized where his strength, his favor, his ability came from. And sometimes we assume if there's an obstacle, there's something trying to stop us, there's no question. Get in there and go to battle. God is on our side. But a wiser approach is to say, God, what is your plan? How do you want me to respond to this opposition? Shall I attack or shall I be still and let you fight for me? If I go in, God, are you going to go with me? We've all fought battles where we didn't come out the way we thought. Maybe it was because we didn't inquire of the Lord. Verse 19 goes on to say, the Lord said to David, go, for I will surely hand the Philistines over to you. Once he got clear direction, once he knew he had God's blessing, he went down there and defeated the Philistines. There were two young ladies in their early 20s. They had traveled from their home in Southern California down to Tijuana, Mexico to go Christmas shopping for the day. When they returned to their car, they noticed what looked like a little puppy, looked just like a little chihuahua. It was squirming there in the gutter. And they could tell it was in a lot of pain. Feeling sorry for it, they picked it up and put it in the trunk of their car. They were going to take it home and didn't want the border patrol to see it. One of the girls took it into her apartment, gave it some milk, trying to nurse it back to health. She tried to feed it, but it wouldn't eat anything. That night, she wrapped it in a blanket and put it in her bed with her, all through the night, making sure it was okay. The next morning, it was doing worse than ever. She rushed it to the emergency animal clinic, handed it to the veterinarian, began to describe the symptoms. The doctor stopped her and said, where did you get this animal? She thought she was in trouble for bringing it across the border. And she finally said, well, doctor, my friend and I found this little chihuahua in the gutter in Tijuana. He said, young lady, this is not a chihuahua. This is a Mexican river rat. Everything is not what it seems. You better consult with the Lord. You don't want any rats